Yo, yo. What up? What up? Yo. What up? What up? Hey. Hey, welcome. Welcome to Benny's crib. What up? Yeah, just leave your shoes over there. It's cool. Yeah, thanks. Does that sound cool? Yo, what up? Welcome to Benny's crib. Portland, Maine, we are here. It's another beautiful evening, another beautiful night. It's a humid one here in late July, but you know, we're blessed. And I'm here with a vocalist in the jazz, R&B, and soul worlds out here in the Portland area. They have a headline show at Aura, July 30th. That's a Friday, I believe, correct?
It is next Friday, I believe.
Next Friday, tremendous. As of today, which is the 21st. And you might know them as Viva. How are you?
Hey.
Tremendous.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
I really am blessed to have you here, I guess, you know. Every time we have a guest here, I feel lucky, so.
Well, I'm the lucky one because this is my first headline gig at Aura. I've been the support act for a bunch of bands now, and I've been really feeling, I don't want to say the pressure, but like the urgency to promote the show as well as getting ready for it. I've been doing so much behind the work prep to get ready, and it meant a lot to me when you reached out and you were like, hey, do you want to come on the pod? Like, thank you for offering me help. Hey,
you know, that's what we do here. It's about making sure people always know, man, got something to say, and especially now in this weird hybrid, not post-COVID, but post-2020, still dealing with pandemic vibes of 2021. It's cool that shit's opening back up, and I want to make sure that people understand, there's dope shows out here again.
Yeah.
And don't sleep.
Please. We waited so long to get to this point.
Yeah. Like, I can't really think about it. I gotta process though. I gotta feel good. I don't know if anyone else feels like they just kind of want to like, you know, press fast forward and like all the stuff that happened like in terms of processing it. But no, like life is somewhat back in a sense, and if you gotta give yourself time to process going out, even just getting a drink somewhere, or like going out somewhere, some people without masks on, you gotta give yourself time. You know, I'm here to judge a motherfucker. Don't be hard on people if they figuring shit out, you know?
No, definitely not. Honestly, that's something I have been trying to figure out how to address during the show. Like, we all just went through something so deep and profound and unlike anything that we have a framework for.
Yeah.
And then to ask people to come back, hey, come out and party.
Yeah.
Like, hey, can you come? Just be ready to dance. Just be ready to like hug people, 400 people you haven't seen in a year.
Yeah.
Like, that seems like a lot to ask
It's
of
a
people.
lot, yo. It is, because I mean everyone's different. Don't get me wrong. There's some motherfuckers who want to dive back in. And don't get me wrong. If I see like a pit right now, a bunch of people going crazy to hip hop, I'm gonna want to jump in just because like that's the way my energy is.
I mean, yeah.
But there's some nice, you know, you get home from work or some shit, and you're like, oh, there's a show. I'm like, I don't feel safe going out. Like, if that's how you feel, that's a beautiful thing, yo. Like, you can't hate your own fight or flight and safety responses that you have as a being of this natural earth, as an animal.
Yeah.
So I think that's nice of you to address, because it can be tough for people to. I think, you know, life is inherently traumatic in a lot of ways, just because, like, you know, how heavy survival is and how heavy, like, livings are, but how beautiful they are at the same time in terms of balance. And also, B, any period of transition can bring up anxiety because you're shifting from routines into different habits and routines and whatever. I didn't mean to get so deep and
Oh, are we not allowed?
Physical.
Is that like a rule of the
No,
pod?
we
Because
definitely-
I only live below the
we
surface.
always can talk about this stuff. I was just going to say, like, hey, 3 minutes in, here we go.
Yeah.
I like to have some, or I don't like, sometimes, you know, you think about how people like to start a show off light. We just jump in. Like I said, it's 10 foot. I got a fucking life vest on if you need it. I'll give it to you. I can handle the waters. But regardless, we got a show to promote. And before we do that, I want to start at the beginning, Viva, if that's okay.
The very beginning?
In a sense. No, not like the Big Bang or whatever alleged cosmic interdimensional shit happened to create this little bubble of
The
life we
Nexus
have.
event.
Yeah, I don't know. But, I mean, Benny's Crib is a hip-hop world podcast, but hip-hop and the vocal worlds also intertwine heavily. A lot of singers can mold into hip-hop very easily or be sampled. So we'd love to showcase different singers in the area. And even though you really weren't you know, like a rapper. I think I did see you rap though.
You have.
At the Beyonce show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something I saw online. But regardless, I still want to keep it in the hip hop realm, even though you are more of like, you know, a jazz R&B vocalist. And this is the question I ask to start off every podcast. In terms of hip hop, what is your first memory of hip hop?
If I tell you, you have to promise not to laugh.
I was trying my damn hardest to be as professional and objective.
Wow, I really appreciate that. I can feel it.
Stone face.
Yeah, keep that up. So, you grew up in this area too?
Yes, I grew up in Old Orchard Beach.
Do you remember the store in the mall that it like became FYE, but it used to be, it's like the corner record store near JCPenney?
Yes. I don't remember what that store was called, but I remember.
I don't remember either. But I do remember going in with my dad as like maybe a 6-year-old and negotiating that it was okay for him to buy me the Will Smith album.
Nice.
The one that had Men in Black at the end and it had just the two of us in the middle and it had Miami in the beginning.
Big Willie style?
Yeah. Okay, you know.
Yeah.
I was like, Dad, it's totally fine if I have this. It's wholesome. It's Will Smith.
Will Smith doesn't have to cuss.
He doesn't.
No, what's that Eminem line? I just butchered. That would have been a great transition. Will Smith doesn't have to cuss in his raps to sell records. But
Yeah!
I do, so fuck him.
And fuck you too.
That's a great line.
That is such a great line.
I still love Will Smith. I mean, this is the perfect time of year for it. Summertime by him and DJ Jazzy Jeff. Top 10 summertime song.
Yeah.
You in the block, you smoking, limited clothing. Maybe you got jewelry on. Maybe there's a styrofoam dish with some delicious takeout food, chilling on a stoop next to you. I'm putting that song on probably 10% of the time. Like I said, it's the top 10 song.
It's great.
Now I gotta Google though, make sure that Big Willie style is the correct album.
Oh, it is.
100%.
Yeah, because it's the one that starts where there's a woman's voice that says, "This one goes out to all the big Willies." Do you remember that?
No, I just feel like I'm listening.
Big Willie Styles all in it, like Getting Jiggy with It is on that album. That was the album. Like what? Also, until this conversation, it's never occurred to me how thoroughly the album itself was crafted around the title to just really sell it to you.
Big Willie Style.
Like we get it, bruh.
It's a dick joke, I think.
He's so whole. Yeah, you're right.
Hey. Well,
I feel like you can't be that wholesome without having serious confidence.
I mean, and I don't want to shame nobody for having a big Willie out here, yo. I mean, just because in the context, not like specifically Big Willie motherfuckers, that really wasn't the group I'm referring to, was just in general. You don't want to ever shame anybody in a sexual way.
Yes.
That's not cool themes. That's not cool vibes.
Yeah.
That should be disrespected. If you be disrespecting somebody because of who they are, you should get disrespected. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's the thing, is like, okay,
Allegedly.
Can we talk for a hot second about how cancel culture doesn't really exist, but everyone was freaking out about it for a minute, forgetting that if people behave badly and there are no consequences, then they'll just continue to be hateful.
Yeah, you gotta get checked if you're doing whack shit. Like, I don't get how people, it's not that hard of a concept. Like, isn't, what's the phrase? Being accountable for your actions, like an important theme for growth as a human, as an individual, and probably as a society. Don't even get me started though, because a lot of things to think about in this country deter from like a top-down mentality of very like egotistical, like nationalistic-esque nature that creates like weird rifts when you try and like combat maybe negative themes that have been ingrained in us. It's like, no, if you question like a negative thing about America's past, you're questioning America. And you're questioning my freedom. It's like, bro, you could be talking about just like how maybe motherfuckers should be held accountable, you know, for what they say at work to coworkers.
Yes. Yeah.
And then if like, well, I can't compliment anybody anymore. It's like, well, maybe you were complimenting people in an uncomfortable way.
Yeah. Or like maybe that big reaction of like, well, I guess I won't talk to people anymore. Maybe we should acknowledge that that is just a dramatic way to shut down the conversation and refuse to get accountability. It's like it's like when you find out that your parents made mistakes and they're not perfect. Yeah. And it's like, all right, that sucked, whatever thing you're in therapy for now. Like, that definitely sucked and that pain is real. But making mistakes is part of being human.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can grow from it and you can learn that it's okay for people to tell you, like, hey, that thing you did wasn't cool. If you can, like, survive that one time, you can keep surviving it and it gets less painful. And then you end up being a better contributor to other people's lives. Like, that's important.
True. Yeah, growth as an individual. That's what I was saying earlier, like, not like life is pain, but how, life is inherently traumatic. Just like our emotions are heavy and our mental must be like, out in these like intense natural situations fighting for our life. That's what like a lot of our DNA and fight or flight responses and mental responses like come from, just due to like our genetic makeup as mammals. So based off that theme, should be intense, and if you fuck up, be accountable for it. Forgive yourself and forgive other people. As long as it's not like heinous crimes. Like if you Harvey Weinstein or some shit, I mean, you might get like a bar of soap filled sock to the face, and I would feel bad for you. Anyway, this energy gets me very passionate.
Oh wow, that was a beautiful image. Thank you for letting me just picture Harvey Weinstein getting a bar of soap sock to the face.
Yeah, like I'm talking like one of those big ass like wool socks and like those fucking hefty I mean, honestly, here's my thing about my energy. I don't even want to say motherfucker's name on my podcast because I don't even want to give him the energy. The universe hopefully will already do some shit to him, cosmically speaking, because I know the justice system might fail us.
Right?
But I mean, I hope like I don't even want to think about that motherfucker.
Yeah.
It's Benny's crib.
Yeah, we're having good energy here. This is about us having a great moment.
It's true. It's more about you though, because I want to now talk about back to Big Willie style. Where are you from? Where did you grow up? Are you from Maine originally?
No, I was born in New Jersey. We don't have to talk about that. And then we moved to Florida.
Sweet. Jersey to Florida.
We lived in the Tampa area from when I was like 2 until I was 5. And then we moved here in January 1995. And I'd like never been in snow before. I'd never been cold. Whoa. I had never been the only brown kid in a room before. Ever.
That's a very, very new and probably intense and uncomfortable experience.
Sure
I
was.
would imagine. I never experienced that. But,
it was a lot. And it was one of those things that I didn't have language for a really long time.
Oh, like because you were so young and you were experiencing it. Yeah, that's a heavy theme to experience.
Yeah.
Not articulate.
And I don't think my parents didn't want to freak me out about it. So they were trying not to like talk about it too much, but that doesn't really work.
Effect sometimes.
Right?
Like, I might be drowning a little bit. Like it might be only like not every day I'm like 10 feet deep. Some days it's like maybe a 5-foot pool, but you got to throw me a life preserver. Don't be like just sipping Mai Tais by the pool pretending it's alright.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yes.
In a sense, I don't know. Again, I've never experienced that, but I just know a lot of my non-white guests on this show have said, "Yo, white people are maybe hella sketchy and uncomfortable and racist."
Yeah.
And that's not cool at all.
It's not.
That's anti-Benny's crib vibes, and I think it's important that we talk about these things, though. That way people don't think that this shit's not around, though.
Yeah.
It is around, It's still, this shit still happening to people growing up, in the 90s you growing up?
Yeah.
Shit ain't cool,
Oh, man. Even, there's some things, so, 2019, I was the lead singer for Sugarbox, which is, do you know them?
I've heard of them, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, they're so much fun. It's like, it's a hip hop band. They do all these like 90s throwbacks covers. They have a DJ in the band, and the guy who plays guitar also has like this massive like sampler and this like pad. The drummer can like, he's using like analog drums, but he's also got like a drum pad. They make a really good sound. And we played in Old Orchard you definitely know the place where we played. We played at
Brunswick?
the Swick. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And there was this woman who came up to me after, and her vibe, she was just exuding love, and she meant it. Like, she was being really sincere, and she was like, you tell you and the other colored guy, which it was just one of those things. And she wanted to give us a compliment. She wanted to tell me a nice thing to tell Mookie.
Yeah.
And
the intention might have attracted benefit.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, wow, like, I can feel that you're being sincere and you want me to have this compliment. And I also know, like, I just have the information now that you're not around people who have conversations about race. Mm-hmm. And, like, I do think that, because, like, that didn't harm me. Like, she was trying to be really sweet.
Very suspect language, and it can bring up very, very bad themes.
Yeah. And it's just so outdated.
It's just,
Like, cool. on the one hand, that tells me the last time that this woman probably talked to anyone about race might have been the 60s.
Yeah, when that term was like fucking spray painted on walls and
Right.
shit. And
Right,
I didn't even
exactly.
think about that shit.
Exactly. And like, you know, but then I have friends who are our age whose parents will use terms like that are so outdated that you're like, okay, you don't have any black people in your life, or you would know, but the vibe might be there where like some people could learn.
Yeah.
And like,
that's true. You can learn things.
Where I've been trying to find hope. Like,
yeah.
All right, are you like
faith.
Especially after last year. Honestly, last year was it felt so violent.
Yeah.
So much about last year felt violent just existing here. And I felt like I had to be really clear when I was interacting with someone that I'm looking to see, is this somebody who they don't know how to have these conversations and they just don't care? Or is this somebody who like they don't know how, but their heart is there?
Yeah.
Like they don't want harm in the world. They don't want this to be like a violent environment. They want they want all the stress to go away, and they're willing to do their part to make it go away.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the only thing that got me through last year, honestly.
Yeah, it's hard because I mean, when you grow up in a racist system, a lot of the shit gets taught to you, and then when you understand that, how do you then act in accordance to that? That's a very defining characteristic of a lot of young adults and just people in general. Like, how do you respond to these things? And it's not just like, shit was bad, we learned about Martin Luther King Jr. and now things are better now. It's like, yeah, like just because the needle moves a little bit in the right direction doesn't mean you took all the steps necessary to make the fucking country what it should be in terms of like the pursuit of happiness for all. Is that what we're saying? Shit. Like if y'all motherfuckers, I mean again, I'm not trying to get into a rant, but if y'all motherfuckers really care about the country and like you're like, I'll live by the Constitution, and all those people like traditionally vote conservatively, it's like then how can you be so like against understanding and teaching like systemic racism and just all these important historical things that still like I read things about there was successful black towns back in the 18 or 1900s and they would literally get fucking flooded and become lakes.
Yes.
Like your whole fucking history, like you could have aunts, uncles, you're gone, dead, and then all that's put underwater. That way, white people can go hit fucking jet skis on it 100 years later.
Yeah.
What the fuck, yo? Like, can you imagine your family history being taken out and then multiply that by a huge amount? And that's still a lot of the history for a lot of people who weren't benefiting off this white supremacy systemic system we have. Systemic systems, it doesn't make sense.
That is such a like vicious, vivid chapter that I was also very late finding out that it ever happened. And I feel like even talking about something like that, it's so hard to imagine a whole town being intentionally flooded. But like imagine all of the kids who had like think back. Okay, you're around my age. Do you remember Toy Story?
It's one of my favorite like kid movies when I was a kid.
When you were a kid, did you feel like your toys like would feel neglected if you gave one of them more attention than some of the others?
Sometimes like I was very big on making sure I definitely like wanted to play with all my toys.
Yes.
I couldn't leave any homies out.
Yes. Now imagine that you have 10 minutes to leave your home and your parents are telling you you have to pick which toys to sacrifice. And you might have to sacrifice them all because your whole life, your whole community, everything is about to be taken away by people that your parents can't stop. Like, that image of like, you're a little kid.
This is horrific.
And you're trying to understand, how do you explain that to a kid of just like, no, you can't bring your toys that you are emotionally attached to, that give you joy, that let you be a child. You're supposed to be a kid right now. And instead, we have to leave or we are going to drown in our home.
It's so heavy. And the reason why like I like to make sure we talk about things like this on Benny's Crib is that, hey, I'm a white dude that's pretty much making like his name in hip hop, which is created by black people and black culture. So that means I'm a guest in this shit. Black Americans have been just fucking completely taken advantage of and oppressed by a lot of the mechanisms of the system we live in. And I can't really have a conscience in this shit if I don't like give time to speak on these subjects, because how the fuck can I really like look at myself in the mirror and be like, yeah, like I'm about, being there for hip hop and like, supporting people in my community by not actually like backing up those fucking words and making sure people on my podcast hear this shit. Because it's like, we're not just here talking about like live shows and music and some fun shit, because we'll get to that too, but like, just know like
hip-hop is culture.
It's everything.
And being actively anti-racist is it's part of it.
It's a huge fucking pillar of hip-hop. And even like, you think about like, you know, not to like dart on a different topic, but like a lot of like, you know,
I'll go there with you.
Like, I'm just thinking punk music, like even like, you know, a lot of elements that like inspire people like from punk are like, fuck the system.
Yes.
Like, let's break down. Like, and the thing is, you get skinheads at those shows too.
Right.
And then often like
but
real
they
punk
came
heads,
later.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
came later.
And they get their ass beat at a lot of shows, like to be honest too, like as they should. And just like there's these certain hip hop's much different than punk. Dude, don't get me wrong. Like hip hop's a fucking just it's like I think it's like almost like in a national galactic religious movement in a sense. Just for me, the way it hits me. But just like there's certain cultures that you can get tied into musically at first, but then when you look at the bigger thematic elements, you're like, whoa, this is a very, very like, I guess like taboo word, but like awakening type of culture. Like, you know, you can learn more about the state of affairs in some really well thought out hip hop verses than you could like in a history textbook made by like a racist company in Texas.
Yes.
And that's true. Yeah. That's like legit true because it's a different perspective of why it to be said, and because it's under the context of like rhythm and a beat, and it's like, oh yeah, like a music executive can be like, yeah, I'm gonna make money off this. I'm like, yo, but Most Def just taught me more than like you brought like I learned more in mathematics from Most Def than I learned like a lot of shit. And I doubt like all the white. I'm assuming maybe I'm incorrect. Maybe it wasn't white people who were like own the label for that. But if there's any white execs making money off that, I'm like, I know y'all making money and you probably don't care, but like he just peed me on so much game and now I'll never trust you. And again, so
it's almost like journalism. Like hip hop
100%.
is journalism.
Oh, like rappers are MCs and poets or journalists in a sense. They give you everything's sadly going to be, you know, through their own personal perspective. So I feel like it's might have a little asterisk on it, but that's just like a way to do life in general.
Well, okay though, because there's a problem in like mainstream journalism where a lot of like I don't even want to just say black people. It's like people of all these marginalized identities, trans people, women, black people, Asian. Like, if you're marginalized, there's a chance that in mainstream media outlets you won't be allowed to report on a subject that might pertain to you because the idea is, oh, you won't be subjective. Yeah. Because you're too close to the thing. But then who else would know? Who else would know the ins and outs of the issue if not the people who are living in it?
The people in the community should speak on the community. You shouldn't have some third party be like, I know what's going on here. It's like, bro, you drove through this motherfucker. Once the cameras leave, people are going to like, all right, we're going back to like the house behind us. I'm not leaving this street. So it's like,
yeah, I
think it's very true. That's why I love this shit. And that's why I think we always need spaces, especially like if you really want to be a good journalist and be a good interviewer, like you have to fucking understand that these topics are so important, and that if you brush over the important shit just to talk about like, you know, the fun shit, I guess, you're forgetting what's supporting that fun shit. Like a lot of people have done a lot of big cultural work for me to even have this conversation in this crib like about this shit. Yeah. Because like if those motherfuckers in the Bronx in the 70s didn't fucking say we're gonna create something different, I don't even know what I would do with my life. So shout out these important conversations always. I appreciate you being down to talk about shit like this.
Anytime.
Because I want to keep going back to your story, but I'm like, no, like
I mean, we could talk about me, but I just talk about me so much.
Hey, but it's
no, you don't understand. It's every conversation, everywhere I go. I can't let the conversation go anywhere else. This is my only outlet.
This is your safe space. Yeah. You can feel finally be yourself. Well, just so I always feel like I have like closing points on what I'm saying. Fuck you if you racist. And
wait, can we say that together?
Yeah, sure.
Like
1, 2, 3. Fuck you if you're
1, 2, 3. Fuck you if you're racist.
There you go.
That felt good.
That's a mission statement. That's why I always like this. I mean, this is fuck racism. Like if you taught right and wrong when you're little, you should never feel bad about like combating these kind of hateful themes. I don't get it. Like, why are you so scared? Because, like, your grandpa's like, I liked what Trump did. He's like, yo, I got love for you, Grandpa. Well, fuck you, Grandpa. Like,
also, did your great-grandpa not actually literally fight Nazis?
Yeah.
How is this hard?
You can't get me started.
How is this hard? Okay, you're right. We're talking about fun shit, but, like,
no.
Come on.
Again, but these are important things. You can't skip over the hard topics because life is pretty fucked up. I think it's wild. It's a huge quote that I think hit from The Wire, but like people die every day. B is what he says, I think. And I'm like, I gotta remember that. Like, this country really is fucking really hard on a lot of people. And just because I can put my feet up and get DoorDash and watch TV in this little white privilege bubble that I live in Portland, Maine, don't mean that a lot of people have that freedom. I'm living in the upper crust. I'm in the 1% in terms of global pleasantries.
Yeah.
So that's why I make sure I balance out the goofy serial talk. I'm high as fuck. Let's talk about hip hop talk to be like real shit's happening. We gotta talk about, especially if you're white and you want to like put like a sign in your yard or a bumper sticker on your car that says you're with something. These are the conversations, and then therefore like actions that you can kind of learn from these conversations. You gotta have in your life.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, yeah, I like this shit, repost, and then go back and be doing white supremacy shit.
Right.
But anyway,
Hi.
all important subjects aside, Viva,
Hi.
did you have any hobbies as a youngin'? Was music around you at all? Any musicians in your family at all?
So my dad is a musician.
Skirt.
Yes.
And
No,
what-
like really. So my dad's from Puerto Rico. Okay, wait, since we're talking like colonialism and all that,
Very true.
he's actually from Guyana, which is in South America. It was a Dutch colony, then it was a British colony, and then it was like emancipated in its own country in the 50s.
Gotcha.
My great-grandfather he had like a store that supplied the mines. Like there were gold
Whoa.
mines. There's lumber. Guyana like could be this super rich country. They have these huge waterfalls. They have all of these resources, but it's one of the poorest countries in this hemisphere. So my
damn.
grandfather was an economist, and in the 50s he wrote a paper. He published it, and it later my sister helped him publish it as a book in 2012 called
Whoa.
Poor by Design. The premise of the book is, how does this country that has gold, lumber, oil, water, how does this country that has all these resources, how is it so poor? And he concluded that it was a function of colonialism. They were poor by design. He publishes this paper, and then it's bad news for my dad's family, and they gotta skip. They gotta leave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you said it was published in the 50s.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's
Yeah.
You could get really fucked up. I mean, you
Yeah.
get fucked up. Don't get me wrong, like now, but like
Yeah,
even,
right?
Even in the States, like you say the wrong shit in the 50s.
Right, because there's all
just-
that McCarthyism. Red Scare stuff.
Like, you got to be careful. Like that's very.
Yeah.
Life is still dangerous for like putting out art and scholarly material as well, but it's, like that's a
Yeah.
different bucket. So anyway,
Yeah. So
they're fleeing.
So they flee. My grandfather, who published the paper, Alfred Thorne, and if anyone wants to read it, the book's called Poor by Design. He goes to work for Oxford University, but he's black.
In England, right?
Well, he can't because he's black.
Wait, what? In the 50s, you?
Yeah,
Black people couldn't work
maybe
at
he
Oxford?
could have, but it was like a tense thing with like the West Indian. He's like West Indian. There was
Yeah.
like a whole tense
Gotcha.
thing.
Yeah, it was.
So he
yeah.
instead went to work for the satellite universities. He worked in Jamaica for a while. And so like my
Pretty cool.
dad gets to go with him for some of this. My dad and his
Whoa.
mom and my dad's brother. And my grandfather, Alfred Thorne, ended up working at the University of Puerto Rico, which was like an outpost of the same university system. And so my dad grows up in Puerto Rico. He comes from this British colony that has like the largest Indian, like Indian
Yeah,
population outside of India. And this
Whoa.
huge Chinese population, because of course colonialism, they're importing people to do all of this infrastructure
So
work.
wild.
They are pitting the Indians and the Chinese and the blacks who had been enslaved. They're like using them against each other to like keep
That's so
keep the status
fucked
quo.
up.
So then my dad ends up in Puerto Rico, which is like, he's suave. He's got the my dad can dance. He can dance, he can romance. So he, in his young adulthood, ends up in one of those vans that like if you were trying to like talk to a shorty,
Okay.
you would hire my dad and his friends. This is like in the 60s, 70s. You would hire my dad and his friends to go serenade her outside her window. That
For
was
real?
like my
That
dad's
kind of
thing.
vibe.
Yeah,
He had
how
that market.
sweet is that?
That's pretty nice, yo.
It's like so romantic.
That's wholesome.
It's great. And
I like that.
my mom loves music so much that she played music literally every moment, like, of the first 18 years of my life. All different kinds of music, like, on purpose. Like, she was like, you're gonna know.
Educating, putting you on.
Yes. So I got this amazing music education from these folks, you know, from my folks. And as a kid, I did really well at some things in school and had undiagnosed ADHD, so there were some things I didn't do that well at, and I could not bring myself to do homework. Fuck that, it's boring and I already get it. But I would test really well, so I would like keep my grades at like passing by testing, and I would spend all my time after school just learning songs.
That's perfect, because I was gonna ask, when did you get the urges to sing, and like when did you start to want to really?
Oh, always. Literally from like second grade.
And your family's a bunch of singers, yo, and music lovers. So.
Yeah.
Damn. Well, let's talk about that. I mean, you're like in second grade at that time.
Second grade. Second grade.
Any inspirations? Is there like family stuff? Is there any singers you liked that you kind of looked up to or anything like that?
Dude, so much. So my mom did this clever thing where I was learning to read, and she would give me, like, remember CDs had a jacket and they had all the lyrics in the jacket?
Oh,
or
I got a CD collection.
Tapes.
I got cassettes in there, yo.
Yeah.
As I point to the office for my audio listeners.
So they have, like, all of these lyrics in the CD jacket. So, like, that was kind of the agreement we came to in the cars. Like, she could pick the music and I could read along. And that's how I, like, learned to read. So if there's anyone out there trying to raise a young one, figure out what music they like, give them the lyrics, and they will learn to read.
You literally learn to read through CD liner notes?
Yes.
That's
so
really cool.
this is music. Like, music has such power. It's hard to quantify, which I think is why it's not a bigger part of our, like, actual education system.
Yeah, you can't, I don't know, somehow articulate music until, like, please, somehow evil government people don't figure this out. But, like, you know, everyone's like, we need people in the sciences and math and, like, all these things. That way we can have a great functioning society. It's like, well, maybe if you had, like, emotionally in tune motherfuckers who like music, we'd have more problem solvers. But then, if you got more problem solvers and solution-based thinkers instead of consumers, and they might understand how problematic the things they are benefiting off of really are, and then the structures that all the elite people make money off of.
It all comes down.
Yeah, so.
But hey, upside, all that comes down.
I like that. I like that, yo. Knock on wood, allegedly.
Yeah.
I ain't here to combat those vibes. I'm here to educate and create more self-sustainable, independent themes in all of us and as communities, in a sense. But
yeah. So I
forgot what we were talking about.
It's all good. It's all good. So you're not ready for this.
I think yeah.
When I was 8 years old, we went to go see Chicago, the play.
The play.
Not the band.
Yeah, because there's a band. It's like 25 or 6 to 4. I know that song.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't sue me. This motherfucking, what is it? You get 30 seconds and they start suing you. Anyone know that if you play copyrighted material, it's like 10 seconds or 30 seconds? I think there's like a certain
We
window.
should really find out what it is, because I bet you so many of your listeners know, though, because that's how samples work.
That's true. Yeah, all my sample people.
Somebody write in, sound off in the comments.
Allegedly, yeah, in my line, Jack. 8th grade, you saw Chicago.
8 years old.
8
years old, I saw Chicago the musical.
Second or third grade.
Second grade. And I was hooked, and that was like the moment, because I'm watching like the iconic Velma Kelly doing her thing, and like I remember my mom like leaning over at one point and being like, do you know what's happening in the plot? And I was like, yeah, like she killed her husband, but he had it coming. like yeah, I get it.
I ain't seen Chicago, but I'm just playing.
It's fine, I did not ruin the musical for you, I promise.
Good.
But that was like the moment where I'm like watching this performer. I wish I knew the actress's name.
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
No, I saw them. I saw it on
movie,
stage.
Right? Oh yeah.
And
is that her though?
Oh yeah, that was definitely her in the movie.
I
you
saw
were
that
right. You're right.
when I was little, so I remember that.
Go. That's your homework. You go watch
Chicago,
that.
yo.
It's hot.
I gotta make some ground turkeys. I'm gonna be up late. I can't watch. Okay.
It was good. And honestly, for the time that it came out, like, I think if it came out today, there'd be a lot more colorblind casting. But for the time that it came out, that movie came out in like 2001 or 2.
Let's see how right you are. I'm gonna Google Chicago as we speak.
2002. I'm committing to that, I think.
Final answer?
Yeah? 2000. Yeah, okay, yeah. See, exactly. For the time that it came out, that show, like, Queen Latifah's in it. Maya. Some other black lady I don't know, but she did a great job.
The
Yes,
singer
Maya. Like that Maya. Like, get a superstar. Yeah. Maya.
Whoa.
She's a, you gotta watch this movie. Like, that movie was ahead of its time. So I saw that performance and I was like, well, this is it. That's what I want to do with my life. I want to be that woman, the one who killed her husband. Yes. But like, but you know, like I wanted to do, there's the dancing with the chairs and the costumes and the singing and and like everyone on stage moving together in this one, they're all moving with this one purpose. And I wanted to be part of that. I want to be part of that purpose. I didn't just want to watch it. I wanted to be it.
You didn't want to be just a viewer. You wanted to be a participant.
Absolutely.
Damn, that's pretty powerful. So you, as these moments were like, hey, my family had been doing shit in many different parts of the world involving music. And then a lot of my mother's time with me was revolving around music. I learned how to read. Then I saw some live shit. And I was like, I want to do this.
Yes.
Perfect. I had another question.
Yes.
Go back to Viva's life.
Hi.
I figured just... My guess is, because I don't like to have expectations, but I'm like, vibe-wise, I feel like Viva's been singing a long time because she was very passionate about it. And then second, it was performing live first and recording in the studio at second. Is that correct?
Ooh, that is so correct. How'd you know?
I don't know. I just feel like you have a very good stage presence. And not that your recording material doesn't reflect, the same professionalism. I was just like, I don't know. I could see... Pretty much what it was is if I heard that music was in your family growing up, I'm like, oh yeah, she was definitely singing on stages like early. That was my guess.
Yeah, that you're not wrong.
Yes.
And what's wild is it took me a few times being in a studio environment where I realized this is a totally different skill set.
So different.
Like, my skills are very audience based. Because I want to, like, some people when they're nervous, they'll close their eyes. No way. It's actually hard for me to perform without my glasses because I want to see people's faces. Yeah. Like, I want to be in it with them.
It's visceral when you
yes.
like that. It can be a little scary at first to get to that point for me. And there's some moments where I'm, like, kind of more introverted and, like, it's hard for me to want to do that with people. And then you jump out of it, you're like, oh, like, look at a motherfucker in their eyes. Like, that's a very, like... You feel alive when you do that because it's a reflection of your own mortality in a sense. Like, here's a fellow human.
Yes.
And the eyes are crazy, yo. When you look at an eye, you get high as fuck. You look at an eye under a magnifying glass. Not that I've actually done that, but, like, I don't have eyes and shit. I'm not young Jeffrey Dahmer looking at eyes and shit.
Oh, no.
But, if you're, like... Just
you heard it here first, folks.
No. Anyway, allegedly. You ever, like, Google, like, high-res image of an eye? Shit looks wild.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, can I tell you something gross?
Sure. Yeah.
Like intimate, but like kind of icky. So my partner, he's wonderful. We've been together for almost 5 years, and this morning he's like attacking the acne that was like on my face. He's like, I got this. No, hold still. And and we're in the sunlight, and I was watching his eye from like 3 inches away from his face. And I could see his pupils like contracting and dilating while he focused. And I've never watched someone's eye from that close while they were doing something. And they were beautiful. Like, really, I know his eyes are beautiful. But to see it like
in motion,
working, like
weird.
The way there's so much that our bodies do that I don't even think about until I see it. And I'm just like, wow, our eyes just do this. I would think that it was magic.
No, it literally does. I mean, think about it, like, if you get hurt, your body heals itself.
Yeah.
What the fuck? That's nuts. Like,
right?
If you accidentally cut a hole in a wall, that wall ain't gonna heal itself. That hole's there forever.
No, you're paying for that.
I scraped my elbow, though, and it's like, nah, I got you. I got a hole in my finger. It's like, nah, I got you.
Yes.
That's why I remember, too, like, although the bigger picture of things may be inherently, like, traumatic, it means, like, just like time will get everybody is what I'm saying. Like, time gets everything. Like, trees die, animals die. I don't want to think about that. Planets die, people die. But from an independent level, life is also healing.
Yes.
So it's like you're always looking at the fact that you ain't gonna be around forever in a sense, but at the same time, like, oh, I'm kind of supposed to be here, at least like doing my best while I'm here.
Yes. Like.
And the eyes reflect that for me in a sense.
Or like I try to think about like, so I have had a long history with like anxiety and depression.
Same.
I figured, I think so many of us who care as deeply as we do about the world, like, it's hard to care that hard.
I'd be anxious and depressed a lot.
Yeah, sometimes at the same time. Isn't that great? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, most like times in my brain, I have to, like, usually when I, like, anxiety, I've learned I gotta channel it. I can't ever, like,
Sure.
confront that thing and be like, all right, bro, like, this is how it's gonna be for the day. Keep this thought process and move on. I have, like, almost like mental gymnastics I do, not to overtake your point, but like to finesse my anxiety. But when it comes to my depression, I'm lucky. I can wake up in the morning and like start to feel like which core thoughts of my depression are gonna like hit me the most, and then it's usually like, don't try, like no one cares about you, like it's not worth getting up, like half-ass it and just get through the day. Luckily for me, like I have this like thing where I snap into my brain. I'm like, those are the thoughts you can't listen to. Like you have to then get up now. And then once I do that initially, like I'm like, oh shit, like I just have to keep this kind of kinetic energy going and I'll be okay. The anxiety, I'll get anxious from like literally like asking you a question, then I might have a sip of tea and think about like quick like thought because the caffeine hits me. That can get me anxious. Like literally like any period of transition, like walking like from my crib to my car, like I could even get like anxiety to creep up.
Yes.
And I'm like, why? I'm like, bro, just because
I will waste so much time in the car because I'm not ready to go inside my cushy apartment that I love.
Yeah.
like what?
It's just, again, anxiety really is like this weird energy that pushes me.
But then you think about, okay, your body, if you are having anxiety, your body is responding in a way that might make it feel worse, but your body is doing what it's supposed to because your body cares about you. Like your body thinks, your brain's telling you that you're in danger, so then your body starts pumping like your heart harder,
100%.
Trying to give you more oxygen.
It hits your nerves too. All those like, a huge nerve that hits from the top of your head to the back of your spine.
You know, it literally turns off parts of your brain, so you can't hear. Like if someone's like really, like my therapist calls it dysregulated. If you're like really dysregulated and you're really stressed out, you're in high anxiety mode, you can't hear as much. Like you really can't.
You have memory loss.
You have memory loss. You can't see. Like your peripheral vision, your vision doesn't work the same.
That's true.
But it's and it sucks in the moment. Like, and you might think oh my God, am I gonna have a heart attack? Is this it? Like I'm over 30 now. Is this how I go? And I didn't do the things. And then you start spiraling. But your body is responding that way because your body cares about you and your body is trying to keep you alive.
It's trying to help you against that healing thing.
And it's like, bro, you're doing the most. But like, still appreciate the thought. Like, this is how I manage my anxiety now. Is like, all right, thank you for trying to be here for me. I don't need you right now.
I gotta channel this somewhere. I don't want this.
I
appreciate you, but this is going somewhere else.
I actually got this, but like,
it's good.
But like, or like, did you? I don't know if you got vaccinated.
Yes.
So I did too. I had the like big reaction for my second shot.
Yeah.
Which I don't think I had COVID, so that tracks.
Yeah.
And it was like 11 hours after I got my shot. I had like fallen asleep and I was fine, and then I woke up and I had these like shooting pains in my calves.
Damn.
And I'm so sweaty. I'm like, and at first because I woke up out of a dead sleep and I'm like, something is wrong. And then I was like, no, something is right. My body received the instructions and it's showing me that it's going to do what it can.
It's a good way to look at it. You gotta like flip it almost, be like, like this is here for some reason. I gotta just keep moving forward, because the thing is, my anxiety will shut me down. That's okay. Like you gotta have moments where you kind of stop, and you gotta just like be easy on yourself when it comes to mental health, and not be like, I gotta feel like this all the time, because that creates expectation and yada yada yada. But I'm like, half the time I'm like, I'm anxious about something, so maybe I'll just go and like do a chore or like something kind of positive. And then once I do that, I'm like, oh shit, like I just put this over here and made it a productive thing. I like this, like turning my anxiety into productivity, but not becoming too obsessively compulsive about it in a sense is a helpful thing for me.
That balance is so important.
Random tangent topic, but again, we're all going through mental shit. Everyone is, and if you ain't, I'm sorry, you a liar, or your trauma hasn't hit you yet from your childhood, or you grew up in a white privilege bubble and you're part of the problem, Jack. Regardless, everyone's different and trying to appreciate the mind and show eyes, and I forget what the fuck I was talking.
I don't know. I love this.
Eye contact's important.
Yes.
Stage presence is important.
Hi.
When was the first time you went on stage?
So I almost went on stage in 3rd grade. Almost. I was gonna sing the song Castle on a Cloud from the Broadway musical Les Miserables.
Les Mis.
Les
As
Mis.
the theater
Ever
people
heard
say.
of it?
I actually haven't seen that.
That's okay. It's great. It actually is great. I was obsessed with this musical when I was in like, this was one of the ones that I like learned to read on. So like 2nd grade to like 5th grade, so obsessed with it. And the message that I got from it was, if there's enough people, you can stage a revolt and you can take down a tyrannical system. So in 5th grade, I tried to organize my math class to take down Mr. LaPierre.
You tried to throw a coup up in your math class?
Yeah, it didn't work.
I want to hear this story. I'm interested.
No, it was very short-lived. I was like, there's like 25 of us and there's one of him.
Is he a bad person?
No, I just didn't like math.
Oh! I thought, like, yeah, he was very rude to us.
No, he was fine.
He actually, like, made blankets for the homeless people.
Yeah, he's probably a lovely person. Shout out
happened?
Mr. LaPierre.
Did he even get wind of this?
Well, the thing was, he would catch me. It was so inconsiderate of him. I'd be like leaning over my desk looking like I was writing, but I would have like a novel under the desk and I was reading, which is a skill. And I was working on my self-development.
That's important.
During his math class, but like working on myself. And then he would come over and he would take the book away. So then I was like, well, we need to end this.
Gotta throw a coup up in this.
Yeah, none of the other kids were like on board. I think they didn't know what Les Mis was. They didn't know that revolutions had happened.
They weren't a part of the theater crowd.
Yeah, they didn't get it. Why did I start talking about that?
Because you almost were gonna sing a song.
Because I was gonna sing a song from that show. And then I practiced. I made my mom watch me. She was like in the kitchen doing mom things. And I was like, you have to watch me. I can sing it like this. Or I can sing it like this. And I remember doing that until she was like, why don't you go practice it in your room? Because you've showed me a lot. And I knew the song inside and out. And then it was like a talent show and tell thing. And I got such stage fright. I started crying and I think I was on stage. I think I had already walked on stage when I started crying.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I was like, I'm sure it was fine. I was so little, but
Great.
it was like the most embarrassing thing that had ever happened in my life.
Embarrassing.
Until, yeah, it was pretty bad. Until sophomore year, I think, I was giving a speech in English class and then I actually like passed out a little bit and that was more embarrassing. So like after that, like, and that's the worst thing that can ever happen to you on stage.
And like, pretty bad.
Yeah, it's not great. Like you can't really save the show after that. And you know what? I have already experienced the worst parts of it. So then it's a lot easier to go up from there.
Let's talk about the elevator up.
Yeah.
When did you start to feel confident on stage? Like when you were really just killing it? Because I want to talk about the reinforcements too.
Yeah.
A band you do play with, but I really want to get just like when you were like, nah, I'm Viva on stage. I'm ready to do this shit.
I mean, in high school, I had a number in my senior show where I was like, I got to like dance sexy and I was supposed to like seduce this kid who was like, he was like 2 years younger than me. And it did feel, the point of the scene was that I was supposed to be throwing a lot of energy at him that he was not in the mood for. Mm-hmm. And it did feel sufficiently awkward, but also like the invitation was there for me to go like really big. And I think that was the first time that I was like, I'm going to use all the stage space and I'm going to make this really big. But I didn't start performing professionally until I was like 21.
Got you.
Yeah.
Was that solo or with
no,
backup?
I met a guitarist. Don't ever date guitarists, children. Don't ever do it. Don't ever date. Don't date musicians. We're crazy.
Oh,
like
some beautiful musicians.
Not to be ableist about mental health, but like our egos are so big and we need so much attention.
Ego death. Self-identity. Deep breathing exercises.
Yes.
Do these things.
Yes.
If you're really artistic, do these things. I'll help you.
And then you'll be dateable.
Yeah. Or you'll at least be able to love yourself enough where you're not in your own head all the time.
Yeah.
Because I always think about ego death. One thing for me is like, you know, there's like those big moments where like maybe you take shrooms or you're like, oh, whoa, like I go through some psychedelic experience and you have ego death. Or maybe you have a near-death experience. For me, I think about just like the minor things where my brain's like, yo, I want to have an egg sandwich with a bunch of like greasy shit on it and a coffee this morning. And then I'm like, yeah, it does actually sound really good, but you ate like shit last night and you're still really full right now from that. Have like some blueberries and some walnuts and some black coffee and let your stomach sit just for a little bit. You gotta eat, but like don't go crazy. And then I'm like, no, I want that egg sandwich. I'm like, bro, you can have that egg sandwich at another time, but your body's not gonna feel good if you have it. And I'm like, all right, if I listen to this part of my brain that's like telling me to do whatever I want in every moment, I feed this like necessity to keep fulfilling that. And that's why I try and drift from it. And I almost view it's like the things I want in life a lot, I put a little bit of discipline in it. Eventually, I'll still enjoy them. Like, I might get the egg sandwich the next day for breakfast instead.
Ooh, delayed gratification.
Yeah,
what?
That shit is amazing. You know?
Yeah.
That shit's very, very good, I think.
Yeah.
For me, everyone's different, too. Everyone's very different. Some motherfuckers be like, nah, I'm getting that egg sandwich again because I don't give a fuck. I'm like, I love you for that.
Me, I'm like, listen, my body knows what to do. I'm just going to put food in it and let it go.
Yeah. The human body is like ever changing. You know, it's crazy what we can do to ourselves. Like,
Yes.
there's days I could eat like very trim 3 light meals. There's days I could eat 3 times that amount of food.
Yes.
Easy. I could eat like a 5,000 calorie day.
Yo, try being a person who ovulates and menstruates, because literally I used to get so frustrated when I was food insecure in like my early 20s.
Yeah.
And I would get so frustrated because I would have a budget of money to spend on food, and it was not a big budget, but it would be fine if I stuck to the budget. And then fucking randomly, I'm like, I'm gonna die of hunger. I just ate. I ate half an hour ago, and I am going to die if I don't eat right now.
Oh, damn.
And it turns out it's just hormones. It's just my body trying to make the most of what I'm giving it. But like, that shit is frustrating.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I try and sympathize heavy with anybody you be fucking dealing with menstruation and ovulation. That shit does not sound like a very
it's not
simple
convenient.
beast.
No.
And not even just something that's like, oh yeah, like I need this in my life today.
Right?
Yeah, like, I feel like that vibe would happen a lot. I'd be like, oh great, I have all this shit now. This is happening to me today.
It's so dumb. And then it's like this thing where you're like, oh, this is mad inconvenient for like my budget and like my pants. But then when it doesn't happen, you're like, what? Are we not doing this? I thought we were doing this.
I also think all menstruation supplies and women's health supplies, specifically maybe in dealing with menstruation and ovulation and anything with periods, should be free. I can't believe I gotta pay for that shit. That's so crazy.
It's ridiculous.
Like, it's not like, you know, like, I would like condoms to be free too, just to have like something example that's like something we use a lot that's in the stores, right? That though is like something of like a choice of like you.
Yeah.
Women can't choose to menstruate. Most fucking times though, you go to the store, that shit looks hella expensive. I'm like,
yeah, it is.
This is actually like mad fucked up. Like, if there was men, if men menstruated and they were like all in power like they are, that shit would be free. I feel like
it would be so available.
I can't imagine. That's just, I'm like, that's a cost I never would have been imagining. You know? It's just fucked up.
What's wild too is how many of those products have like bad chemicals in them.
Yeah, shit, yo.
It's like, what, you want me to pay how much to possibly give myself toxic shock syndrome?
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
And it's not like it's like a very sensitive area too. Not
Yeah,
to be like
it's not great.
scientific, but like
But yes,
like
it truly is.
Our private spaces to be like, I guess, professional are very important in terms of hormones, libido, things like that. And then also their entryways into the body.
Yeah, you gotta just be
like,
safe.
Like, I can't imagine putting risky business anywhere near my shit, yo. And motherfuckers be selling it with a smile on their face.
Yes.
I don't get how we started talking about period supplies.
You know what it is? Is
keeps happening.
I
Random
love
tangent.
that your values are part of this. And that is something that I feel like if 2020 gave us anything, it put a lot of us in a position where we had to recognize what our values are and commit to them. And then once you do that, you start seeing all of these patterns of like, hey, that's not in alignment with my values. And that, like, that's beautiful. Keep that same energy. It makes me feel very good to know that that's on your radar of like, what the fuck is this situation?
I just try and be alert because I don't know, yo. You just.
Wait, so speaking of studios?
Yeah.
So I'm going to plug Acadia Recording Company.
Okay.
And part of it is I had a great recording experience there. Like, sounding good. I was uncomfortable because it's not my, like, strong suit.
Gotcha.
And Todd, who was the engineer who was helping me and the guy who runs the thing, he was super nurturing and just, like, really kind while I worked through that. And also, outside of the music experience, they have menstruation products in their bathroom, easy to see, easy to reach, in case of an emergency, which did present itself, and I did not know what to do. And I mentioned it to Todd. I was like, thank you for having this available. These are never in bathrooms.
That's respect.
It was. And he was just like, yeah, I want people to be comfortable. Just like, duh.
That's it. That's all it is. I used to have them. I don't know if I have them anymore because I don't think they might have expired or I just got a new whip. But I used to keep a couple pads in my glove compartment because
Yeah.
I shared the car with my sister at the time, and I was like, "Yo, I should just have these in here."
Yeah.
Just because it's just like
Yeah. Also, if anyone is moving into a new place and you want to have people who menstruate over as guests, you should have a wastebasket in your bathroom because otherwise we don't know what to do with the bloody sanitary napkin.
yeah,
And that is
that's a tough
a
one.
shame that we it shouldn't be shameful, but it is like if I'm over here for the first time hanging out with you, Benny, and I'm like, hey, I've got these boogers in a napkin, where can I put them? Like, that's not really something I want to talk to you about.
Too. You gotta like leave a room holding on to it and be like,
yeah, like what? There's
subject of
nothing in my
everyone's-
hand. What hand? I don't
Yes.
have any hands.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Yeah, no, just like
That's not a fun
waste
situation.
baskets in your bathrooms, since we're giving advice on the pod.
That's good to know. No, again, Benny's Script's about educating.
Yeah, I can tell.
And,
There's so many PSAs,
there's
so
a
many
lo-
community
There's
service
a lot
announcements.
of I don't know, just things I wish I knew earlier. Just don't be some fucking, especially if you're a dude. Just don't be some fucking dickhead who's like, I can't talk about period stuff that grosses me out. It's like,
Right.
you're just a bitch. Like, I hate
Yeah.
to be like negative, but like,
You cannot simultaneously enjoy
on.
300, one of the bloodiest movies in cinematic history, and be too scared to talk about nonviolent blood.
yeah, and it's just like, I don't know, man. A lot of people like want to add that they care about other people and open minded, but like, you gotta really push comfort zones, bro, to be open minded.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if that makes you uncomfortable, but it should. Regardless, you talked about having menstruation products in a bathroom at a recording studio.
Yes.
How did you get into recording with the reinforcements? Had y'all been performing beforehand, or was this like the first time you linked up?
So I put the reinforcements together. I wanted to play music so bad, and I didn't know how to break into the scene. I didn't know where to start at all. But I had been with a guitarist who he studied jazz. He like went to school for it, and I watched him put together just like bands for one night, just like a pickup band. And I kind of saw the tools that he used, where he had like this thing. It's called have you heard of a real book?
That sounds mad familiar, but I
Yeah.
don't think so.
It's like a book of songs, and it's like it has the chords written out. So like any jazz musician, you can put this thing in front of them, and it's just a few symbols on a page, and they can play you any song as long as they can see it. And I saw that, and I was like, that's magic, but I want to do it. So I like got myself a hold of some charts like that, and I learned, because things didn't work out with me and him, but I learned a lot from him. One of them was like, okay, so you need to have a band. That means you need to know people who play instruments, and you need to be able to give them information to play the music. And something that a skill he didn't have that I have is marketing. And I, like, because I didn't have the training, but I wanted to do it. And I saw he had so much skill and was like really naturally gifted with music, but he didn't know how to get people to his shows, so it almost didn't matter that he was good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it's a balance. You have to have multiple skill sets, I think, to be good at putting on like a really good event. Like you can know how to book an act and put good people together, but what if you can't tell motherfuckers like how to get in the door at the same time?
Tell you
It's
what,
like-
that club's not gonna have you back. like that. And so for me, I worked at Starbucks at the time, and so I would see 700 people a day. And whenever I had a show, I would see these people and have relationships with these people, and they'd be asking me what's going on, and I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna sing later, and I'm so excited about it. And it was just natural promotion. So when I had my first show, it was totally by accident. Colleen Clark, whom I'm friends with now, but I had never met back then, she used to have a weekly Wednesday gig. Pearl used to have a jazz night on Wednesdays. Yeah, right, exactly. And yeah,
R.I.P.
yeah, I know. But Colleen couldn't do it one week, and she'd given the club a couple weeks' notice. Well, the managers at Pearl were my regulars at Starbucks, and they had been listening to me talk all summer about how I'd started to sing with this guy, and they're like, hey, do you want a gig? And he and I had actually broken up, and so I didn't have anyone to play with, but I said yes. And like, yes, I will do that gig. And I will get back to you about whom I'm playing with. And I reached out to some really good friends of mine, people whose music I had been supporting, and I was like, hey, I want to do this thing. Can you help? And they were really, really good people. Like, that first gig, literally, it was like Dwayne Edwards. I have heard him play. He plays bass. I have heard him play a bass solo on NPR and known that it was him. Because he's just so good and so recognizable. And he teaches at UMA now. And he's always been, like, really generous and treated me exactly like a musician, even when I didn't know anything. Which I think is, like, early on, I found there was a really big social barrier to getting involved, and I tried to only really fuck with people who treated me like an equal from the beginning. So he helped. Eric Winter, who sang for this like Cuban band, and I had seen him play hand percussion, and I was like, can you play hand percussion for this thing? He was like, actually, I play drum kit. Who else do you have on the gig? And I was like, it's just you. And so then he reached out to this guy Peter Herman, who's this amazing guitarist. We've only met twice, but the first time was on that gig. And Rexy Dinosaur, who plays saxophone. At the time, she only played saxophone. Now she plays every instrument. And we had this show at Pearl that was so thrown together, no rehearsals. We just showed up, and I had these charts. And, like, I had practiced, like, wild, but, like, I didn't really know what I was doing. I know words really well. Like, that's my skill. And I know how to entertain a crowd. And I didn't really know how to sing. But it didn't fucking matter. Because I told so many people about that show that there were 50 people at my first gig.
Nice.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And because I also, I had never felt that fear before of like, oh my God, what if nobody shows up?
Oh, yeah.
Oh no. Like, and then that wasn't a thing. And that was the start of me realizing if I want to do this, because we don't have a strong audition culture in Portland. So like, if you want to start playing music, well, you might see a band that you really like, but like, how do you get there?
The DIY, like, for such like a artsy, like, open-minded, like, DIY feeling community, you know how hard it is to fucking book an independent, like, kind of like I'm a no-name show. Yo, I'm not gonna front, like, I'm not a no-name either. I got a lot of like connections out here. Motherfuckers just don't respond to me when I like send like professional emails for bookings and then a follow-up. Not even like, hey, we'll fill this time. I'm like, bro, like, I brought like a packed out flask, and I was like, one event I did that like it was on like a Monday of the Minds night. It's like, don't you want to like give local people a shot instead of getting some like white vanilla bullshit that you're probably just gonna book? I know maybe that's why I'm getting the booking, but I'm like, maybe you speak to real, but I'm like, there's a lot of young people, there's a lot of open-minded people. You don't have to just cater to like these, you know, crowds that you think are gonna go see because like you know they're gonna have money. Like, we're gonna book a nice soft rock act that way a bunch of people in their 40s come and go. It's like, I get that. Don't get me wrong, but like, don't do that 7 nights a week, bro.
Right. There's supposed to be
one
room.
of them nights, yo. But whatever. I'm just not to interrupt, but I
guess it is tough to book. I think in a lot of scenes it's tough to book, but especially here, it's gotten better since I started. Because I started 10 years ago, but
Tristan, how we doing on the GoPro time? By the way, we got to make sure we're not going too.
I know we've been talking so much. You can edit
no,
stuff down if you want.
I'm only gonna edit the beginning, probably. How much time we got?
It's actually been an hour and 3 minutes.
Hour and 4?
3.
About to be 4.
How much time we got left?
It doesn't say.
So we're just gonna find out.
I didn't know it recorded this long.
Hey, you know what? Let's hit pause and make sure everything's gonna be going smooth. And we are back. I was gonna edit that out, but maybe I'll just do it later. Sometimes I kind of like just keeping the flow with shit, to be honest. Visually, maybe we'll do like a transition blur or something. But
the transition is I am now laying down comfortably.
Yeah, Viva's now laying down, and we were just talking about, to kind of end the conversation topic, about the reinforcements and how did y'all come together and record that 3-track EP?
Right. So that was several years in the making, in that I spent from 2013 to, we recorded that in 2019. Dang. So that was basically 6 years of organizing bands, and which fundamentally centered around, can I get gigs that will pay enough? And in the beginning I couldn't get gigs that would pay enough, so I was paying people out of my own pocket to make sure that I was paying people fairly for the amount of work I was asking for years. For like, really, for years. And often I could make it up in tips, and I had to be really aggressive about trying to get tips. Or, like I said, I was food insecure and might not eat that week.
Damn.
And honestly, I lived in my van for a while. Like, I bought a van so that I could make sure that I had a place to sleep that was mine, where I could have my dog and no one could take it away from me until it got towed. But I got it back.
Oh,
it's cool.
shit.
I still have the van.
Cool,
We're good.
cool.
We're good.
We're good.
It was just a stressful minute. But so I had put in 6 years of organizing dozens of musicians and just taking every gig that I possibly could to try and build this thing. So, and to build it, like, not even just to the point where I, like, might record one day, but it became this thing where people were meeting through me, which feels... Hold for sound.
We're good.
Being the reason that musicians who like each other have met is one of the best feelings in the world.
That is a cool feeling.
It is amazing. So, like, it became this thing where I would, like, try and intentionally, like, I would have a list of bassists, like 5 or 6 people deep, and then I would try and, like, plan ahead. Oh, who haven't they played with yet? And I would, like, try and put people together. But then there would also be a thing where, like, people, venue owners started to realize I could put a band together really quickly, so I'd get a lot of last minute gigs. And then it's like, okay, well, who's available? And I did that for a few years, and then I realized, like, okay, I can relax about this. I think it was two years in, like my second summer of gigging in, that I realized I don't have to play with people who don't respect me. I don't have to play with people who aren't kind, or who aren't kind to other people on the gig. And so, like, that became a thing very quickly, where I was like, all right, like, I can tell this isn't comfortable for everyone, which is making the music not good. I don't want to do it anymore. But also, the whole time, I'm learning from all these people that I'm playing with, because I didn't go to school for it. I've just been learning by doing it. So I was really lucky, because I was working with people who were, like, pretty patient and would explain stuff to me when I had, like, sincere questions, like, what do you call that thing when the trumpet goes like blah, blah, blah? And it's like, oh, well, that's kind of like a fall. I don't know. Do you mean a shake? And then, like, this is a conversation I had with Emma Stanley, and she's like, well, a shake sounds like this and a fall sounds like this. One time in 2015, I got to play with Dave Noyes one time.
Whoa.
Yeah. It was at Congress Square Park. And it was the first time I ever played in Congress Square Park. So it felt like a really big deal. And I asked him, and I'd known him for a few years. And that's another human who always treated me from the minute he met me. And I think he met me while I was, like, slinging pizza at Otto. From the minute he met me, he always treated me with, like, this dignity and care that I imagine he would have given me even if he had met me in the halls of Berkeley, had I been giving a performance there. And so he was a really busy guy. And so he was like, I can do this one gig. I can't commit to very much outside of it. Can you give me some parameters around, like, arrangements? What do you have for this kind of information for horn players? I'd never organized for horn players before. And he asked me these really thoughtful questions that were kind of almost designed to help me understand, like, not just what he needed to know, but, like, there's so many nuanced elements to arranging that you learn in school that I hadn't learned. And he was like, well, have you thought about this? And here are some options, and here's this. And so I had 6 years of playing with people who took care with the music and took care with me like that. So by the time 2019 came around, I had met, it was great. And I had met them almost by accident. I ended up on this gig. It was a Go Big for Hunger event. It was a pretty big deal. Otis Redding III,
Nice.
so Otis Redding's son, was coming to town to, like, it's this cause he believes in, and he comes to this thing to play for a Go Big for Hunger event, and I ended up being one of the backup singers, but I was also singing in one of the first bands billed in the night. And the drummer and bassist of that thing, they're not a package deal, but they work so well together, and they create such a good vibe. There's Joe Beninati's the drummer.
Yeah.
and David On is the bassist. And they're like another two musicians who, from the minute they met me, treated me with like this level of care and respect that like the words aren't conveying it properly. But I felt like, oh wow, I could really resonate with these humans, and I'd be safe to explore here. I'd be safe to like grow as a person here. And they're so professional. And so I just on a whim I asked if they'd be available for gigs, and they fucking said yes, which was great. And like David, the bassist, he had already printed out. So like at the time, I would be like printing out these massive books of like information to have on a gig to give to people. And he had gone ahead and printed out the chart that I gave him, which was like, not maybe a huge gesture, but for me, I was like, oh my God, you care about this so much that you actually already looked at the material. Are you kidding? And that's just who they are. So I was like, I got playing with them, and it felt so good to play with them, and they treated the material so well. And my buddy Jordan Bickey, who's the guy who started Jazz Sesh at Blue, now it's at Urban Farm. And his band is The Project, and he and I have been playing together for almost 5 years, and we wrote a couple songs together, which was like really cool because I hadn't really ever had the experience of writing with people before. So he was on guitar. He had introduced me to his friend Mike Perot, who ended up playing guitar with me a bunch, and he's just like another like lovely human being who he's also like this incredible chef. And for one of our he played, all of these guys and some other folks played with me with the Reinforcements. We got to perform for Governor Mills's inaugural celebration. And these guys were on the band, and I was like, Mike, I want to do this, like this rehearsal is really important because the gig is it's kind of a big deal. Would you cook for the band? And he did. Nice. He made this like 3-course thing to like have in our tiny cramped rehearsal space. Like just like this was the kind of thing that we were building before COVID. And so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is me. Yeah, that's everybody who was in the studio for that EP. And the first song on that EP, Jordan wrote. And he actually shared that with me. We'd known each other for like maybe like 3 or 4 months. And so we were like just kind of early in our friendship. And I have always felt a little bit behind in knowledge. And so I was really, really honored. He was like, hey, Viva, I wrote this song and I like want you to sing it. And it's beautiful. It's the first song on the track and first track on the EP. And it's like such a beautiful, it could be a romantic tune, but I love, the title is Grace of You. And the idea is like, I'm only getting to have this conversation because you've extended me the invitation to be with you in whatever capacity I can be with you. It's just such a beautiful human thing. So what's the second song is one that I wrote after, I went to like an El Malo show, smoked too much, got in my van to drive away, and I was like, I shouldn't drive right now. So then I sat and I was like listening to like the classical music station like really low, and then I started to get like a song in my head, and then that became like that next song. And the other song on the EP is actually the first song that I ever wrote, and I wrote it after I had an argument with someone, and then I like took a shower to like get the bad vibes off. And I got this song stuck in my head. And I was like, does this song already exist? Or am I writing it right now? So I like had to like run. I was like crashing at a friend's. I had to like run across her apartment. I'm like butt naked hoping nobody comes home to like get to my phone so I can like sing into the voice recorder. And then it turns out it was an original song. And I reached out to Samuel James, the guitarist.
Yeah, he wicked talented.
Oh, I know, right? He's so good. And I was like, Sam, what are the chords for this? This song doesn't exist yet. Like, help. And so he was like, here's what you need. And then he put together a band a couple years in a row, only for like one event each. And his whole thing was we each bring a song that we wrote and we do some songs together. But like we would all learn each other's material. And that was like the song that I got to bring to that band. So like all of this was years in the making. And honestly, years in the making as far as finding funding and like having even some of the knowledge to know, like, what do you do in the studio? What do you do after you've made a record? Like, how do you get people to find out about it? And after all that, we released it in 2019, and I didn't have the money or energy to really promote it the way I wanted to.
Yeah.
It's like that it was going to be like a thing like, oh man, this is coming out. It's our anniversary. It was like on the date of like my first show with a band that was like on purpose, which is like May 29th is like the band's birthday. And sometimes the message that is hard to accept is it's okay to wait. Like, we made the thing and got it printed like 2 weeks before the show. And I just didn't have any money left over from that to like do all of the promotion. I didn't send out press releases. Like, there's so much that I know now that I would have taken more time with it because I'm really proud of that.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, there will be more records. Like, at least there's something on there. And it's so, like, if people knew, it is so easy to put music on Spotify. It is, like, not hard. But also, people have treated me with greater respect as an artist when they're like, oh, you're on Spotify?
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, it's so easy. You just press a couple
Right?
buttons.
Yeah, like, you pay $20 a year for distribution, and you're on Spotify and iTunes, but it sounds like you're a real musician.
Yeah.
It's like, I've been a real musician, but, like, thank you. I'm glad that I have something that people can wrap their minds around as a metric. That's my long answer.
That's
like,
perfect. I mean, you answered all the questions I had about the reinforcements, how that got together, how that came together, and then how it got put out. I'll probably ask one more question about them towards the end when I ask about maybe anything in the future. But before we do that, I want to pivot to one of my favorite parts of the podcast, the rapid fire.
Hey.
You down?
Yeah.
Cool.
Lay it on me.
Doesn't have to be a very quick answer, too. Really, whatever answer comes to your mind first is the best way to respond.
You did say rapid, so...
I say rapid fire because I like when people bring it, but sometimes they're like, I don't know what to do, and they just don't say anything, and it's like, yo, they can't be dead air. Now
Right.
I gotta say something. So really, whatever comes to your mind first is really
Okay.
it. Favorite animal?
I love dogs!
Last album you fell in love with?
Oh, I don't know if it counts as a whole album, but Silk Sonic, that thing.
Yeah, the
I
two singles.
Put it on just to find out what the hype was, and then I listened to it for like half a day.
Oh yeah. If you had to make a song your ringtone right now, what would it be?
It would be the Incredibles theme.
Nice. It's like the movie The Incredibles.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
Favorite cheese, or if vegan or lactose intolerant.
No, I'm a
Okay.
cheesehead. I like a good, like, really extra sharp white cheddar.
Yeah, I had an extra sharp Vermont cheddar this weekend.
Yeah.
It's just too good. It's addictive.
Yeah, really, like, that's all I
Danger.
ate for the first 3 months of quarantine.
Cheese.
So good.
Cheese.
It helped.
What's like your, in terms of cheese, it's a good protein.
Mhm.
What's your favorite exercise though? Is like a favorite activity you like to stay active?
I mean, I love to dance, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
just started going back to the gym, and I am the only person I've ever seen do this at the gym. It guarantees me alone time, but I will literally be on the elliptical, like, doing vocal warm-ups, or, like, I'm, like, listening. I made this, like, playlist, and I'm, like, dancing on the elliptical, and then I'll go to, like, the 30-minute round thing, and I'm doing it all, like, in time to the music, and I don't see anyone else doing that, but I get such an endorphin rush from it.
I dance a lot, and I'll like be high as fuck on the elliptical.
Yeah!
With my hands not grabbing anything, and I'll be
Yeah.
like,
Oh, and then
spitting
you're like,
verses, and I'll be like,
Yes!
but people, I mean, honestly, anyone who overly judges anybody to me is a bum, so. Because
Yeah.
you're going to judge a little bit because you're a human and / animal, so you're always going to have like a quick, like, oh, what's going on?
Sure.
But you got to, like, just cut that shit out and mind your business.
It's
That's
not important. Also, like, if I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to have a good time.
Yeah.
I do not go anywhere to suffer.
Yeah, try not to.
Yeah, right.
Perfect. Favorite time of the day to record?
I want to do everything in the middle of the night, but I do everything at home and my neighbors are sleeping. So it's like my favorite time of day, but it's nobody else's favorite time. So I end up procrastinating for a good part of the day, and then I'll get started mid-afternoon when the light is coming in all golden. And then I'll go until I'm too hungry.
Tremendous. I lost my train of thought.
Rapid fire questions, bruh.
I had the question in front of me. I was going to say something, but it doesn't matter.
Oh.
What's an album you would take to the grave?
Oh. Santana's Supernatural.
Santana dope. Oh, I remember this favorite venue you've ever performed at. That's the one I want to sneak in.
Oh, that's tough. That's tough for a couple of reasons. Because I've been in some really good rooms and not had the presence that I wanted to have. I got to perform in the Goo Goo Dolls studio in Buffalo, New York, and I was so nervous that I did not enjoy it, and that room is made for making sound. So, like, that's something I want to do over. I am the most comfortable, I think, at, like, House of Music now, and partly because so Ken Bell, the owner, when I was getting started, he's another person who's always treated me like he understands that I'm doing something on purpose. And so he's always made me feel wanted in that club, where there are definitely some clubs where you're like, I feel like I have to beg, borrow, or steal my way in and then prove my worth all the way through it. And I've never felt that there. So I'm really comfortable there. And I go there all the time to like dance. That said, I know going into this gig at Aura that I will be able to hear myself so well that that's taking off a lot of edge for me. It's like I will be able to hear so well that there's a level of awareness that I won't have to try for, and I'll be really present and there. And so I'm excited about that.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I know. It's great.
Dramatic pause.
Mm-hmm.
Dream collab.
Janelle Monáe.
Boom. Oh, she's dope as hell.
I know.
Yeah.
Janelle, if you're listening, please DM me.
We'll see.
Oh, maybe one day.
Well, you have survived the rapid fire. Viva.
I made it.
And on top of that, you mentioned this for the people at home. Talk on your show at Aura. It's time to promote.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about this. So, for all that I talked about having this band of people that I'm desperately in love with, because I am, over quarantine, I realized I need to be more self-sufficient in my music. And I can. That was like the real realization, like I've always wanted to. And then halfway through, I was like doing solo stuff live streamed. And then I realized, oh my God, I could make beats. Like I could do that. I don't have to pay somebody. I could just do it and make music from my imagination. So I started doing that. And then to do that, I have all these analog instruments that I've been chipping away at, kind of learning for years. Well, shit, I could play bass now. Like, and I to do it at a level that I like it recorded, that means I have to be able to do it. So then I'm making this beat we did a fundraiser at the State Theater. I'm making this beat, I'm using my ukulele, and then I'm realizing, this thing doesn't go low enough. Oh, I guess it's time for me to learn guitar. So then I reached out to my buddy Jordan, and I was like, can you help me find a guitar? And he did. He brought me home this little, it's like 3/4 size. It's my size. And so then I reached out to Samuel James, and I was like, can you teach me guitar? And he was like, have you ever had an artist residency? And he invited me to Indigo Arts Alliance to be his like partner in that residency.
Yeah.
So I had my first artist residency in February, and then I was like, well, let's just see what I can do. I'm just going to try and be here for 24 hours a day and like just keep the momentum going. No expectations. We'll just see what happens. Well, fucking A. I just started like playing these songs from the bottom up, like bass, add guitar, add ukulele, add percussion, add voice. I started learning trombone in 2019, like at the end of 2019. And so I picked it back up, start using it again. I have a trumpet that I borrowed from a friend, and I can kind of play it. Yeah, I mean, it's not good, but like I'm trying. But like that was the thing, is I had this time to stretch myself and be like, what can't I do? Can we find it? Can we find out? What are the parameters? So then I got the call about this Aura gig, and at the time I wasn't really sure if it was going to happen because, things weren't open yet. And I said yes. And I was planning, like, eventually I would like to be able to be a solo artist. Like, just to travel. And then my friend Rexy Dinosaur, I mentioned her earlier, she lent me her looper pedal,
Mm.
and I started playing with that. Well, it turns out I love that. So then I got myself like a big boy looper, like a 3-channel. And so for this show at Aura, it's a combination. There'll be some tracks that I made, but also just me being the band, which is so, for me, it's kind of meditative because I have to be, it's like all those anxiety thoughts, all these intrusive thoughts. I kind of have to say, shh, not right now. I don't need you right now, because I'm listening to this music, which I'm making.
Mm.
And then there's this extra level of, but fuck, I want to dance. So I like made this transition from, we did all these jazz tunes, which is great. I love jazz tunes, but I want to dance, and I want to dance with people. So now I'm challenging myself, like, okay, can I make music that I want to dance, that I have to dance to? So like, that's what this show is about, is like, especially after last year, let's have some joy for one. Can we have some joy, gather together, because we haven't been able to do that, but also I know that everyone who shows up to Aura will be people who've cared about me.
Mm.
And I'm really proud that I discovered this other stuff that I could put my energy toward.
Yeah, that is exciting.
And I get to share that. So it'll be fun. It's not going to be like anything anyone's seen before, from me anyway.
Sweet. Well, it's that Friday
the 30th. 8
or,
p.m.
8 p.m.
And so Genius Black is opening, and which was really gracious of him when I asked him to open.
Yeah.
He's bringing a whole crew, and at Aura they start exactly on time. None of this musician time bullshit. Like, they're gonna start exactly at 8. So like, if you're coming, please come. But like, if you're coming, be there on time, because Genius starts right at 8, and he's got a short set.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Is there anything else you want to promote as we kind of end the show and wind down? Any reinforcement talk, or just stay tuned, or just anything at all?
Definitely stay tuned on the band stuff. I'm not gonna lie, having a year off from organizing people was really good for me. It was good for my mental health, and like kind of addressing some of my own stuff before I try and direct a crew. I'll definitely be doing more band stuff in the future. We'll see. I guess if I'm going to promote anything, it would be the Black Voters Matter Fund. If you have money to donate to that, that'd be great. If you're not coming to my show and you have $10 laying around, you could send it to the Black Voters Matter Fund. I guess, I feel like if it's not about like the music, then it should be about the values.
I feel that. Community.
Yeah.
It's very important. Hell yeah. Well, it's kind of a more professional business question. Or
okay.
Not even question.
Should I sit up straight?
No, we don't need to do whatever.
Formal?
Professionalism is all about how
Should
you
I get
carry
on one
yourself.
knee?
It's not about...
Is it one of those deals?
It's not about posture. Just have a good energy to yourself, yo. What are your socials? Like, how can people hit you up?
Oh, get at me. So, I basically only use Instagram at @CVivaSing, which is spelled out SeeVivasing.
Hell yeah. Sure, I thought it was Rising for a while.
Mm-mm.
My brain is so funny. I always read that as C Viva Rising.
God, I love that. Wait, is that already taken?
No, it is C Vivas, and that makes way
no,
more
but
sense.
is C Viva Rising
I
taken?
don't think so. So it's like, that's very powerful, like
That's
rising.
great. You're hired.
Yeah, I'll try. Yo. My brain will just put letters. Yeah, now when I typed it, that looks so like not. There's not even any R in that.
Is there anyone in there?
No, I didn't see C Viva Rising.
All right, I'm gonna take that. But for now, it's C Viva Sing is where all the good stuff is on Instagram. Oh, and so Spotify, iTunes, is under Viva and the Reinforcements, and it would mean a lot to me if people listen to that EP.
It's out there, yo. Go stream it.
Yeah.
Go support. Show Aura 7:30. Are you ready for the last question?
Yes.
Where will Viva be 1 year from now?
That's quite a question. I'm making noise. There's no dead air.
No, you're good. Yeah, keep moving on. If not, I'll come in and do my thing too.
July 21st, 2022. I will have already performed with do you know Palaver Strings? They're a small orchestra around here.
No.
So I will have done that in the spring. I haven't made any plans for this summer yet. I am applying to South by Southwest because it never hurts to apply.
Shoot your shots.
Right? And then I'm also applying to Austin City Limits, which will be in the fall. So I'll either be getting ready for that or getting ready to apply for the following year.
There we
or,
go.
I don't know, maybe I'll be in like Beirut or Paris or I don't know. Or in a field full of puppies.
I like these answers.
Yeah.
The future's full of opportunity.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we had the opportunity to talk to
Thank
Viva
you for
tonight.
asking.
You definitely saved me a lot of questions because you could just go.
I can talk so much,
you can
though.
talk a good amount. Give me credit. I'm looking at my time right now. I think there was a legit. Let me see when this started. I think at 1 minute and 1 hour and 2.5 minutes from 1 hour and 15 minutes.
We're so good at this.
That was just you.
Wow.
It was just you talking for that 13 minutes.
Thank you for listening for 13 minutes.
It felt like I'm like definitely like Viva's controlling this segment. I'm gonna let this happen.
I'm driving,
But
so.
yeah, you drove clean though. You got us back. I mean, this has been a 90-minute one, the longest one since we've been back. And it feels good to be back. Shout out Yardley Ting for sponsoring this podcast.
Yes!
And show July 30th. See you next week. Much love. Take care of yourself. Stay hydrated. Peace.